Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now October 1st of 2023, and as of right now, Disney is fully prepared for the next box office failure on their end for 2023, which is, of course, no other than The Marvels, which is led by actress Brie Larson. There's been a lot of revisions that have been happening to this film, a lot of different alterations and adjustments here and there, and there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes between Brie Larson, the Disney heads, Marvel Studios, director Nia DaCosta, and a whole lot more. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And, well, one thing about Brie Larson that I think that we could all agree on is that she is just as insufferable out there as Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Meghan Markle, Rachel Zegler, Kathleen Kennedy. I mean, they're all a part of, like, this same group that believes in what they believe in. They believe that they can dismantle specific franchises, and they have their own view of specific elements. Amber Heard, same exact example, but she's a different tier. Now, when you look at stuff like this, we know that The Marvels is going to be a setup to really tarnishing the MCU again. Now, again, this is going to be the final box office failure for 2023. There's really no escape from this movie not performing very well. However, what's even all the more unveiling has a lot to do with what Disney recently did to take action in an attempt to save this movie, and why Brie Larson is having a very big problem with this, and how this actually also involves her agent and manager serving as the messenger between Larson and the Disney heads. Let's get into all of this. So, with Disney currently in a phase of damage control, one major development has to do with The Marvels, which is still set to release on November 10th. However, as it turns out, actress Brie Larson is reportedly extremely unhappy and angry with what Disney did after the latest test screening for The Marvels, as they ended up editing out many of her scenes at last minute in order to dial down the potential backlash based on scenes that actually went unscripted dialogue for Brie Larson. Now, director Nia DaCosta allowed Larson's multiple requests to get approved, where she was able to insert multiple scenes in which Larson didn't have to go by the script and improvised her sequences. All of those scenes that were shot have been canned by Disney in a poor attempt to save the film. The final touches to the movie are now being made, with no delay or cancellation of the film in sight, at least for 2023. Brie Larson, her agent and manager, reportedly had heated arguments with Disney and Marvel Studios over Larson's improvised scenes getting cut, and that Larson is actually pushing her manager and agent to reason with Disney to reinstate them. Now, let me say one thing about Brie Larson, is that she did this with the Avengers. She has done this with other movies as well, like Fast X, where she feels that her scenes are above all else, right? She feels like she is like the focus of the cast, of the crew, etc. And that just really goes to show you that she is another example of someone who's very egotistically driven, who is very much trapped in her own bubble, very much self-absorbed. And we know that Brie Larson is right up there, like I said before, with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Very similar in different ways, but looking at the fact that The Marvels is really going to be like the biggest example of the MCU essentially failing. We already saw how basically Ant-Man 3, that movie did not perform well at the box office for several factors, and this is going to be the next big MCU flop, and it's not looking good for Disney. It's not looking good for Bob Iger's legacy, let alone Bob Iger's plans for the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, they're really having a lot of trouble trying to establish this further, especially throughout 2024, so we have a lot more to talk about that. But this is where things get even all the more involved, because we know that Brie Larson is really using her agent and manager to reason with Disney. She feels that her improvised scenes are above all the other actors and their work, that they actually poured their heart and soul into this movie, like Sam Jackson, for example, and there's a lot more examples that we have to talk about right now. Now, everything ranging from Brie Larson to Sam Jackson, there were a lot of on and off scenarios on set for this movie, as it turns out. Now, specifically, given that the SAG strike is in effect, this is creating a disconnect between Larson and the Disney heads, as well as Marvel Studios. However, Larson is having a major meltdown over these scenes getting cut from Act 2. This was based on a failed test screening recently for the Marvels, where there was much backlash over Brie's scenes that were described to be cringeworthy dialogue sessions where her character Carol, aka Captain Marvel, had moments in which she talks down to Sam Jackson's Nick Fury after he gives her lessons. There were even scenes in which Captain Marvel mocks men and how they are not fit to lead the way. These are the type of scenes that were improvised and just recently cut out from the final edit of the movie. Director Nia DaCosta was forced by Disney to make this call, and she too is not happy about this one bit, and has been dealing with Larson's meltdown behind the scenes that have been so severe that have been rattling throughout all of Disney behind closed doors, as now both Brie Larson and Nia DaCosta have a grudge against each other. Now again, we know that Nia DaCosta, the director of the Marvels, has actually trashed the fans for prematurely, as she calls it, not liking this movie, for being so wacky and silly out of every single Marvel project in existence. And to top things all off, Nia DaCosta does not care about how Sam Jackson is talked down by Captain Marvel. So again, we know that his character Nick Fury, a very well-established character, they wanted to change his character to a certain extent in this film. Exactly how, down to the specifics, we'll find out once the film drops. But we know that The Marvels is a prime example of an MCU movie that feels like it should belong on the CW as a series. That's kind of like what it feels like, right? I don't know about you all, but the series, alright, Miss Marvel, did not work out as well as it should have, because Disney just wants to keep on pushing forward with this nonsense. We know that The Marvels is not going to perform well, and this was supposed to be, by the way, like the gateway to the upcoming Secret Wars, as well as the Kang Dynasty. It's going to have a lot of connections to that. The fact that The Marvels is representing those movies by use of the multiverse is going to be pretty much a way to taint those movies to begin with. It's going to be a constant reminder. So, look, at the end of the day, Disney has no idea what they're doing. Brie Larson has endless problems with Disney for cutting out her improvised scenes, mind you. And look, I don't know why there's this time in Hollywood where directors are taking orders from actresses and allowing their ideas to spill into the scripts of these movies and into the plot. Makes no sense to me. It happened with James Mangold and Phoebe Waller-Bridge for Indiana Jones 5. In fact, it's one of the leading reasons why that character, Helena Shaw, was so insufferable, to the point where it just led a lot of people to walking out of theaters. A lot of that had to do with Phoebe Waller-Bridge throwing a lot of her concepts into the story. So overall, I would really like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. From night to moon, we hear them moans again.